Couple of minutes before we get to statements by members, déclaration de député, and I think most of the members are here, so we're going to start just a minute or two early and give ourselves lots of time to get into question period thereafter. So we'll go to statements by members. Déclaration de député, the honourable member, l'honorable député, the honourable member for Davenport.
Mr. Speaker, as of January 1st, a new Secretary General, Antonio Guterres of Portugal, took up the responsibility as head of the United Nations. The selection of Mr. Guterres as the United Nations Secretary General is a point of pride for Canada's Portuguese community, particularly in my riding of Davenport, home to the largest community in this great nation. On the first day of his mandate, Secretary General Guterres launched an immediate appeal for the world to put peace first. He reminded us that the things we all collectively strive for, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. And that peace depends on all of us, citizens, governments, and leaders. It is an important message, especially given the recent attack in Quebec City. And as our Prime Minister has said, let us not meet violence with more violence, and let us ensure that fear and hatred is met with love and compassion. Let's put peace first. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Haliburton, Kawartha Lakes Brock.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I have a number of people and organizations from my riding that I would like to congratulate and thank for their hard work, both at home and abroad. The Township of Dysart in Haliburton County recently celebrated its 150th anniversary. The 2017 World Dog Sled Championships was held in Haliburton Forest and Wildlife Reserve, bringing competitors from a dozen countries to Haliburton County. Haliburton's Scotty Morrison, who many will know, received the Governor General's Sovereign Medal for volunteers. Cam Lamport, captain of the Lindsay Muskies, was named the Ontario Junior Hockey League Player of the Month for the Northeast Conference. Lindsay's Carly Toth for competing at the World Tap Dance Championships in Germany. Downeyville's Ab Carroll, who qualified for the World Livestock Auctioneer Championship being held in Billings, Montana this June. And Wendy Babin of Nana's Diner was named Citizen of the Year by the Kirkfield Lions Club. Also, I'd like to encourage every Canadian to attend the Beaverton Winter Carnival taking place this weekend, a great family-friendly event for all.
You're here. The honourable member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, last week New Brunswick was hit with an ice storm that cut off electricity to more than 130,000 people across the province. Despite all efforts, many still remain without power today. Sadly, these outages have led to 2 deaths and dozens of hospitalizations due to carbon monoxide poisoning. During times of struggle, you see the true resilience and resourcefulness of communities, something that I saw firsthand last week while I visited warming centres in Alma and Salisbury. I would like to thank those who went door to door to check on our most vulnerable, individuals and businesses who provided assistance to their neighbours, the Canadian Armed Forces who mobilized and responded at the province's request. I would also like to thank the emergency service personnel and power workers who continue to work day and night to restore power to every household. Mr. Speaker, events like this make us thankful for our neighbours, and no more so than in rural Canada, where you can always count on someone to offer an extra blanket, a hot shower, or a home-cooked meal. Thank you.
The honourable member for Jonquière. 2017 marks the 75th anniversary of the founding of Sainte-Rose-du-Nord, one of the most beautiful towns in Quebec City. In 1942, after 100 years of colonization, progress and setbacks, this magnificent village was officially created on Saguenay's North Shore. I have the honour of representing the people of Sainte-Rose, which is also nicknamed the Pearl of the Fjord. These are people who have heart, who are very attached to their roots, and each year they open their arms to more than 80,000 visitors. And this is quite something for a village of 400 inhabitants, but it's hardly surprising given the wealth of the landscape there, the diversity of the activities that people can participate in, winter and summer alike. On this 75th anniversary, I want to wish all residents of Sainte-Rose-du-Nord wonderful commemorative celebrations.
Mr. Stanton. The honourable member for Sault Ste. Marie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in the House today to honour the groundbreaking accomplishments of my fellow Siouxite, Dr. Roberta Bondar, who is visiting Ottawa today. Yesterday, January 30th, marked the final day of the recently proclaimed Dr. Roberta Bondar Days in my riding. Dr. Bondar has been an influential career as a medical doctor, scientist, author, photographer, and Canada's first woman in space. Born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie, Dr. Bonner has received a number of Canada's highest awards, including recognition from the Order of Canada and the Royal Canadian Mint. 2017 marks the 25th anniversary of Dr. Bonner's historic space flight. Her remarkable career inspires Canadians of all ages from coast to coast, and in order for them to reach the stars, and continues to inspire young women and boys as well. Thank you very much, and congratulations, Dr. Bondar.
The honourable member for Richmond Centre.
Mr. Speaker, it is my pleasure to extend greetings to all of my colleagues and Canadians across our country on the occasion of Lunar New Year. This year, as we celebrate the Year of the Rooster, we recognize the importance of hard work and seek success in our workplace. The rooster is punctual, responsible, and dynamic. As those with Chinese, Korean, and Vietnamese heritage gather to celebrate this joyous occasion, I'm reminded of how fortunate we are to live in Canada, where there's such a rich and diverse multicultural mosaic. I encourage all of my colleagues to participate in local Lunar New Year events and join us as we welcome in the new year and continue our celebration for at least 2 more weeks. On behalf of our family to yours, I wish everyone a happy and prosperous Year of the Rooster. 恭喜發財，新年快樂!
The honourable member for Chateauguay-Lacal.
Thank you, On behalf of the people of Chateauguay-Lacal, I rise today to condemn the shooting perpetrated at the Islamic Cultural Centre of Quebec City last Sunday night.
This Islamophobic attack killed 6 and injured many, was a gratuitous act that has no place in Canada. Our country is one that welcomes others, built on the values of openness, tolerance, and diversity. That is why we must oppose all forms of persecution of minorities, be they ethnic, religious, or other. I offer my condolences to the grief-stricken families, and I want to express my solidarity with the residents of Quebec City, as well as with all worshippers of Islam. Mr. Speaker, the people of Chateauguay-Lacal stand in solidarity with the Muslim community. I send special thoughts to them to remind them all that they will always be at home here in Canada. Thank you.
Honourable member for Sydney, Victoria.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to recognize some very good news for Cape Breton. Last week I was proud to announce on behalf of our government the federal contribution to the creation of a $20 million second berth in Sydney Harbour for the cruise ship industry. This is following $67 million we announced last fall for the Cape Breton Highlands Park and the Cabot Trail. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to recognize the member from Cape Breton Council for his announcement last week on a $1.5 million upgrade to another popular tourist attraction, the Place Bay Miners Museum. These investments show that our Prime Minister and our government is making tourism and job creation a priority. Now, speaking of announcements, Mr. Speaker, you may recall 10 years ago today that we made the announcement of $400 million for the Sydney Tar Ponds to clean up the toxic site, which I informed this House that is now a beautiful park enjoyed by all residents. So stay tuned, because we'll be announcing more investments by this government to the wonderful island of Cape Breton.
Honourable member for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to bid a happy retirement to one of the longest-serving fire chiefs in the Ottawa Valley, Chief Terry McHale of the Douglas Fire Department. Terry has served with the Douglas Fire Department continually since 1972, a 44-year commitment to his community. After briefly serving as chief in 1978, Terry took on the responsibility full-time in 1987 and held the position for the last 30 years until his reluctant retirement in December. This will be a big change for the township of Edmundston Bromley, as Terry is the only fire chief many residents have ever known. Terry leaves a strong legacy of public service and community leadership, and very large shoes to fill for his successor. I look forward to seeing Terry working at his other job as a small business owner and operator, a job which he has held alongside his 44 years at the fire department. Thank you for your service, Chief McHale. You're a fine example of true dedication and service to our community. I wish you and your wife, Evelyn, a happy and relaxing retirement from firefighting. You have certainly earned it.
L'honorable député d'Argenteuil, la Petite Nation.
The Honourable Member for Argenteuil, la Petite Nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On November 29th, I had the pleasure of representing the Minister of Natural Resources of Canada and to announce in my riding investments of $19 million in 2 innovative forestry sector projects. Fortress Cellulose Spécialisée will use birch in order to produce dissolving grade pulp. Birch is an abundant resource, but to date has been somewhat neglected. Thanks to this technological breakthrough, we can now benefit from more species of trees which in the past weren't profitable. As for papier maçon, it will be putting in place a new technology to extract wood fiber and to make it possible to produce a dense fiber board, therefore entering into the making of wood plastic composites for various products. Our government believes in the forestry sector. This is good news for the environment, for the creation of economic opportunities in rural regions, and for maintaining good quality jobs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Marc-Aurèle-Fortin. Mr. Speaker, I can't rise and remain silent about the events that occurred on a Sunday evening. We are all at a loss for words. Now, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to start by saying that it's an honour for me to rise for the first time this year on behalf of the people of Marc-Aurèle-Fortin. My riding, like Quebec and Canada, is rich in its population. I rise to say that all of our community organizations need help throughout the year and that all contributions, all donations, and all action counts. Our community organizations keep us united, especially at difficult times. So, to all of those who work hard throughout the year and for whom solidarity, assistance, and compassion are what keep them going every day, I say thank you.
Alderman Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, another year is underway, and like any new year, Canadians have made their resolutions in the hope of improving their lives. The Liberals, however, have a resolution of their own, to create as many taxes for Canadians as possible. Now, unfortunately, small business owners continue to bear the brunt of Liberal taxation. Now, the Liberals claim that some small businesses, like campgrounds, are too small and should be paying more than 3 times as much tax as other small businesses. And Mr. Speaker, this just doesn't make sense, and it's not fair. In my riding of Haldimand, Norfolk, small businesses are the very lifeblood of our rural lifestyle. And with this new job-killing carbon tax and our already outrageously high hydro prices, many businesses cannot survive more Liberal tax grabs. This government needs to start supporting our small businesses instead of driving them out the door.
The Honourable Member for Brossard-Saint-Lambert. Mr. Speaker, the Lunar New Year has just begun. It's also the Chinese New Year, which is the most important celebration for many people in my riding at Brossard-Saint-Lambert. Allow me to extend my warmest wishes for the Year of the Rooster, be it filled with prosperity, health, and joy.
Of the Year of the Rooster, an animal that symbolizes honesty, brightness, and ambition. Considering my Portuguese origins and how important the rooster is in our folklore, I would add that love of one another, of family, of community, is also part of the symbolism this year represents. En cette occasion, j'aimerais que nous...
I'd also like to take this opportunity to recognize the incredible contributions by Chinese Canadians to our country, as I also send wishes of hope to the people who suffered such a loss in Sainte-Foy yesterday.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
In joy and sorrow, together we are stronger. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For the Snethi, Mississippi, Churchill River.
Mr. Speaker, young men and women in my riding are eager to learn and acquire skills to serve Canada. Cora Morasti from La Ronge is a student in medicine in Prince Albert. Ty Gardner from Isle Cross is a student at the Saskatchewan Indian Institute of Technologies in Saskatoon. Alexis St. Pierre from La Loche is a student at the University of Saskatchewan in geology. Dean Poitres from Meadow Lake is a young man who joined the Canadian Armed Forces to serve his country. Young people in my riding serve in the Canadian Armed Forces in the RCMP. There are also paramedics, construction workers, farmers, electricians, nurses, teachers, business owners, and much more. They contribute to making our communities safer and healthier and more prosperous. I am proud to stand here today to pay tribute to all my constituents who make Daysnithin, Mississippi, Churchill River a beautiful place.
Honourable Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, recently the Liberal member from Beaches East York came out in favor of legalizing all drugs. That is, all dangerous, deadly, and addictive drugs. We know that street drugs tear families apart and ruin their lives. The member made the argument that the criminal aspect of drugs stigmatizes the user and makes them less likely to seek help. The problem, Mr. Speaker, is that there is no proper help to be offered to addicts seeking it. Across the country, we are hearing that when a drug addict finally decides to take the steps to seek treatment, there are no beds available to them. I think in the midst of an opioid crisis, it is irresponsible for any member of Parliament to be advocating for the legalization of all life-ruining drugs. Mr. Speaker, the message is becoming quite conflicting. The Liberals need to redirect their focus and ensure that prevention, education, and treatment are made their priority.
The Honourable Member for Don Valley West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 25 years ago yesterday, the NASA Space Shuttle Discovery landed at Edwards Air Force Base after spending 8 days in the vacuum of space. Aboard was Dr. Roberta Bondar, Canada's first female astronaut, an accomplished neurologist born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie. Returning to Earth, Dr. Bondar led an international team of NASA scientists studying the human body's ability to recover from exposure to space. For her groundbreaking research, she received the NASA Space Medal and was inducted into the Canadian Medical Hall of Fame. Since then, Roberta has worked as a physician, researcher, scientist, photographer, and educator. Dr. Bondar is a role model for all Canadians. I'm proud to have her as a constituent and a friend, to say nothing of the fact that we graduated from the same high school. Mr. Speaker, shortly you will have the honour to welcome her to Parliament. Today we all celebrate her historic contributions to science and to Canada.
We'll do that again later. Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we know that the Prime Minister broke the Conflict of Interest Act. It's obvious that he thinks that these kind of rules don't apply to people like him. But it's not just this law that he broke. He also broke his own open and accountable government rules on ethics. And we only know about this because he was caught. Mr. Speaker, what possible explanation does the Prime Minister have for his conduct?
Honourable Prime Minister.
As we know, Mr. Speaker, this was a personal family vacation with an old friend, but as I've said many times, I am working with the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner to answer all questions relating to this.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, he doesn't get to have a private, privileged conversation with Mary Dawson. He is accountable to this House and to Canadians. This has become a huge distraction for him, and it's taken his focus away from what matters the most, which is creating jobs. It's obvious to everyone that his focus needs to be on jobs and the economy, not on damage control for one self-inflicted wound after another. So why did he put himself in this position in the first place?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
To the contrary, Mr. Speaker, we remain focused on growing the middle class and supporting those working hard to join it. In our first year, we lowered taxes for the middle class, raised them on the wealthiest 1%. We brought in a Canada Child Benefit that gives more money to 9 out of 10 Canadian families by doing less for the wealthiest families. We're focused on investments in infrastructure that is going to create good jobs now and opportunities for our small business and our communities to thrive in the coming years. We're investing in research and innovation in a broad range of things to make sure that Canadians have good jobs now and well into the future.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, maybe the Prime Minister talked to the Aga Khan about this next issue, but I'd like him to answer our question. He only has two ways to balance the budget. That's getting his spending under control or raising taxes. We know he's not going to do the first, so he's going to do the second. And the latest target is health and dental benefits.
Shame.
That proposed new health tax means that most families will pay an additional $1,000 more in taxes. Many will lose their benefits entirely, and they'll be left vulnerable. So can the Prime Minister please tell us, is he seriously going to put a tax on health and dental plans of millions of Canadians?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Our approach, Mr. Speaker, has been on lowering taxes for the middle class, and the only taxes raised were the ones on the wealthiest 1%, which that opposition party voted against. We are looking at how we're going to help Canadian families get through the challenges that they're facing and create opportunities for their children and then grandchildren to thrive and succeed. This is the focus we have: growth for the middle class, help for those working hard to join it. That's what we're going to stay focused on, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Hey, Mr. Speaker, millions and millions of Canadians are finding this out through the media, that the Prime Minister may actually tax their health and dental plans. People rely on these for prescriptions and much-needed health programs. This will leave millions of people potentially without insurance and vulnerable. So can the Prime Minister focus on the economy and answer the question, is he seriously going to put a tax on the health and dental plans of millions of Canadians?
Yes, Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, Budget 2017 is coming up, and we're looking at ways within that budget to help Canadians, to invest in their future, to lower the costs of the everyday goods and pharmaceuticals they need. We are focused on how we can help Canadians succeed and thrive in the coming years. That's the focus of Budget 2017. That's what we're working hard to deliver, as we promised, to Canadians in the middle class and those working hard to join it.
Chef de l'Opposition.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's policies did not create jobs before the election of the new U.S. administration, and now it will be much more difficult, according to the National Bank. The measures proposed by the U.S. President will cut our exports by 10% and plunge us into a recession. Perhaps the Prime Minister is not worried, but Canadians are. Mr. Speaker, can the Prime Minister tell Canadians what his plan is to protect our jobs? Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, since the new U.S. administration has come to power, and even before that, we pledged to work with them, our ambassadors, the people in my offices who are in very close contact with the United States, to show how integrated our two economies are. 35 different American states export primarily to Canada. Millions of jobs depend on the countries on both sides of the border. They depend on open borders for our goods and services, and we will continue to present those arguments to the Americans. The Honourable Member for Outremont. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Of the United States has banned access to anyone if they happen to come from a number of Muslim countries. A Canadian ally is blocking access to their country to individuals based on their religion and place of birth. The Prime Minister talks about the importance of standing up to intolerance and racism. So why is he refusing to denounce this policy that breaches fundamental human rights and that will inevitably have consequences for Canada?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the two preceding questions demonstrate the important double role that this government has. We need to make sure that we are protecting Canadian jobs and growing the economy by having a constructive working relationship with our most important trade partner and ally. And we're also standing up for Canadian values and principles. That's what Canadians expect of us, and that's what we've demonstrated over the past days as we have stood loudly and clearly for the openness, for the welcoming, for the compassion, for the strength that Canadians expect of all of us.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, but it is always the role of a Canadian Prime Minister to stand up to racism and hatred.
The Prime Minister plans to meet with the President of the United States in the coming days. Canadians have been clear. For them, the Muslim ban is completely unacceptable. So, will the Prime Minister denounce, on behalf of all Canadians, the Muslim ban when he meets with the President of the United States? Yes or no? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect their Prime Minister to stand up for their values, for our principles, and to advocate compassion and generosity. It's the best way to protect and promote our values, our strong communities, our united communities. I will always do that. I'm here to defend Canadian values, and I will do so loudly and clearly. The Honourable Member for Outremont. Enough with the fine words. That's too easy. Now it's time for action, Mr. Speaker.
Le Premier ministre a répété.
The Prime Minister has repeated over and over that the 2015 election would be the last one held under the current system. However, recently, he has seemed to be backing down on his formal and official promise. Will the Prime Minister finally admit that he has broken his promise and reneged on his commitment? Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, as you know full well, we engage with Canadians across the country, whether it be through mydemocracy.ca, whether it be through the excellent work done by the members on the special committee, whether it be through direct engagement with Canadians and the conversations we held. And we saw that many people have different perspectives and many people want improvements in our democracy. We're going to continue to work on ensuring that Canadians have a sound and healthy democracy. The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Failure to answer speaks for itself. Exactly. The Prime Minister used to love to say that 2015 would be the last election under first past the post. But he won't say it anymore. And neither will his newly minted Minister for Democratic Reform. Will the Prime Minister publicly call for his new minister to begin finally drafting legislation to change the voting system? Or, now that he is Prime Minister, does he no longer feel that it's important?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are proud of our democracy and they always are open to improving it, working to make sure that our values and principles shine through in everything that is done in this House and everything that we do to represent them well. I was extremely encouraged by the great outreach, the great response from a broad range of Canadians in many different ways on improving our democracy, and we look forward to working with Canadians to continue improving our democracy in the years to come.
The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean.
Our population is part of our democracy. That's why it's changing something that have to be done through a referendum to respect the democracy.
Mr. Speaker, we have enormous challenges coming future with the new U.S. administration. Whereas in the States, the President say that he's going to lower taxes, he's going to cut red tape. How in Canada are we going to be able to respond to that? I don't want to just hear rhetoric. What are the concrete plans to help our businesses and keep our jobs here in Canada? Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, we will engage with the Americans to ensure that we can continue to work together. Obviously, we have a plan here in Canada to help our economy, to ensure that it is well placed in the future. We want a good situation for the middle class, and in addition, we're going to make investments to grow our economy in the future. That is our plan for Canada and for the middle class. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, and not last week, but just before Christmas, the Department of Finance officials said that we'd return to a balanced budget in 2055. Now, the Conservative government would have balanced the books well before that. We are very concerned about what's happening. Spending more money than we have means that at one point the bank is going to take away your car or your house. Money doesn't grow on trees, Mr. Speaker. How are we going to be able to fix this situation? We need to create jobs. It's not just about increasing taxes. What are they going to do? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, the response of the Department of Finance says that our economy is viable in the long term, and it also says that it is very important to make the investments that we need to grow our economy. That's exactly what we're going to do, and we want to have a good level of growth. So we are going to continue with our plan for the economy to ensure that it is well placed now and in the future.
Carlton. The finance minister has responded to a formal order paper question asking him to define the middle class. Quote, "It is not possible to pin down a specific income range that would capture everyone who is in the middle class. Canada has no statistical measure of what constitutes the middle class. Now we understand why the Liberal middle class tax plan gives an executive earning $200,000 a year $800, while giving a worker earning $45,000 a year nothing except a carbon tax on gas, home heating, and groceries. How can the finance minister help the middle class when he openly admits he doesn't know what it is?"
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in fact, what I'd like to tell the member opposite is, in fact, we know the middle class is all those people who were left behind by the previous government. All those people who feel like they have not had an increase in pay for the last generation. We know that the people who are feeling like they are struggling to get by and who need...
Order, order. I'm having difficulty hearing the answer. I know that all members want to hear the answer. Order. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
As I said, Mr. Speaker, all of those left behind by the previous government, all of those people who haven't felt like they've had a real pay raise for the last generation, what we did for them was we lowered their taxes. The average individual of the 9 million people, $330 less in taxes. The average family, $540 less in taxes. And for those who have families, for those 9 out of 10 families, significant more money to raise their children.
Member for Carlton.
Left behind by the previous government, I seek permission of the House to table the chart I have in front of me, which shows that incomes for the median and for the middle class in Canada did fall dramatically under the previous Trudeau administration, stayed largely stagnant, and then skyrocketed under the previous Conservative. You know where I got that chart? It was the very first chart in the very first budget of that finance minister. So if this minister does want to help the middle class, why doesn't he start by reading the chart in his budget and follow the examples of his predecessors?
Honourable Minister of Finance.
Speaker, I am happy to talk about the real numbers with the member opposite. For the 9 out of 10 families who got the Canada Child Benefit, they're on average $2,300 better off after tax for their families. For the most impoverished, the single woman living on a low income, $6,400 after tax better off. That's not to consider the tax decreases for the middle class. So we're moving forward on a plan to make a real difference for the future of Canada, a real difference for middle class Canadians, and a real difference for those people who are really struggling to get by.
Yes. The Honourable Member for
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Finance, does he want to talk about figures? Here's one. 13 million Canadian workers who are going to be taxed more if the government decides to tax health care and dental plans. And those 13 million workers, because it's family insurance, we're talking about 24 million Canadians who are going to be affected by this bad Liberal decision. The Minister refused twice to see whether this tax is going to be imposed. The Prime Minister said that. Can the Minister tell us if this tax is going to hit more Canadians? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, we began with a tax break for middle-class Canadians, a major tax break for them, and we also considered how we could continue to have a system that is effective, responsible, and fair. And that is exactly what we are doing and what we're going to continue to do. We're considering changes to our tax system to have a better situation for our middle class. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. The reality of these figures, Mr. Speaker, is an increase in cost for Canadians. If they go ahead with this bad decision to tax medical and dental plans, we're talking about millions of dollars more. We're talking about $2,500 more for the carbon tax, and with the increase in pension cost, we're talking about so much money. So do you think that's a good idea, really? I'd like to remind the Honourable Member that he must address his comments through the chair. I don't think he was speaking to me. The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, as I said, our program seeks to be good for the middle class. We began with a tax reduction on the middle class. That is our plan, to help the middle class and those working hard to join it. That is also part of our reflection now. How can we continue with our plan to be sure that our system is effective, responsible, and fair? Honourable Member for Laurier-Sainte-Marie. Mr. Speaker, the executive order of the U.S. President on immigration flies in the face of human rights and the rights of refugees. We cannot be sure anymore that refugees will be welcomed into the United States and be treated fairly. Now, the agreement on safe third countries that we have with the Americans was based on this very assurance. So here's my question for the government, and it's simple. Will the government immediately suspend our agreement on these safe third countries with the United States?
The Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has a lot to be proud of with respect to how we welcome refugees and open our hearts to those seeking protection and sanctuary. We are proud of the fact that we have one of the most generous and compassionate refugee systems in the world. We'll continue that proud tradition, and the conditions of the Safe Third Country Agreement continue to be met. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
We must condemn discrimination whenever it arises, but words without action are meaningless. It's time to take some real action to address the Trump's discriminatory immigration ban. Will this government lift Canada's caps on refugees, work with our global partners to help resettle those abandoned by the U.S., and will they immediately suspend the Safe Third Country Agreement, or are Canadians just left with empty words?
Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Canadians are proud of the fact that we have resettled more than 40,000 Syrian refugees in 2016, and our immigration levels plan more than triples the number of privately sponsored refugees in 2017. That more than triples the level under the previous government. We'll continue to have a robust and compassionate and generous refugee system. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister's ethical conduct undermines the Canadians' confidence in this government and our democracy. Further to this Prime Minister's reckless behavior once again, where he accepted a helicopter ride to go to the private island of the Aga Khan, we see that he thinks that he is above the law and that he refuses to respect the current ethical rules. Can someone please, Mr. Speaker, explain what ethics means to this Prime Minister? The Honourable Government House Leader. Mr. Speaker, as has already been mentioned, the Prime Minister was on a personal family vacation with a long-standing friend. The Prime Minister is prepared to answer all questions that members may have.
Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday, in defense of his indiscretions, the Prime Minister claimed he was visiting a lifelong friend during his New Year's vacation. That defense does nothing to alleviate his responsibility to follow Section 12 of the Conflict of Interest Act. The law is clear. The Prime Minister is forbidden from boarding a private aircraft in a circumstance like this. Will the Prime Minister finally take responsibility for his actions and admit that he broke the law?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as has been previously stated time and time again, the Prime Minister was on a personal vacation with a long-standing friend that he has known for a very, very long time. as has also been stated time and time again, that the Prime Minister is ready to respond to any questions that the Commissioner might have. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Beauport, Côte-de-Beaupré, Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, not only is the Prime Minister spending recklessly, but the Minister of International Development and Francophonie is also spending excessively. She used the services of her ministerial limo 55 times to return to her riding. Everyone on this side of the House knows that a legal expense is not necessarily an ethical one. Mr. Speaker, will the government members finally refocus their priorities and stop emptying the pockets of Canadian taxpayers? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, as you know well, my riding of Compton Stansted is in a location where I cannot use the plane or the train, so I do have a chauffeur service to return to my riding. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lampton.
Grab a cab.
Mr. Speaker, today we learned that the Minister of International Development has been using her chauffeur-driven ministerial limo to travel back and forth from her riding in Sherbrooke. The full expense for the 55 trips were charged to the Department of Foreign Affairs. Can the Minister confirm what international development project she was engaged in Sherbrooke? Or is she just another limousine liberal who's been caught using taxpayer funds to fund her own personal entitlements?
Honourable Minister of International Development.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, all my colleagues here in the House can use points. They can use government funds to travel back and forth to their riding. And here in the House of Commons, it's the same thing.
The Honourable Member for Salaberry-Sur-Loire. Mr. Speaker, the Trump administration has decided to cut funding for organizations that offer family planning, including access to abortion. This American action is endangering the reproductive health and the rights of millions of women and girls. The Netherlands have appealed to Canada to create an international fund to compensate for Trump's order. The Minister of International Development has said she's open to this. She now has to show leadership. What is her plan? When and how much will she invest in this international fund? The Honourable Minister of International Development. Mr. Speaker, abortion is a right, it's a health issue, and it's a development issue. Women have the right to choose, and adolescents have to be at school. We need to end violence against women, child marriage, teen pregnancy, and dangerous abortions. And I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, that women and girls are at the heart of our priorities, that reproductive health is a major issue in our new international development policy that includes sexual education for girls and boys, family planning, and safe abortion. Thank you.
Lee Smith.
Mr. Speaker, the United States just blocked funding for any international organization that even mentions abortion. The consequences of this decision are monumental for women's health. Will Canada reiterate its support for women's access to reproductive health care at home and abroad? And will Canada condemn Trump's attack on women's rights?
Minister of International Development.
Mr. President, I've been going through consultation for the last year, and I can assure you that it is a profound consensus here in Canada and globally that sexual health and reproductive rights is a priority. I can assure you that it will be a major element in our new international assistance policy, and that, yes, we will support sexual education, contraceptive supply, family planning, safe abortion, and obviously maternal health for newborn.
The member for Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians need only to turn on the news to see the devastating effect that problematic use of fentanyl and other opioids is having in our communities. Last year in British Columbia alone, more than 900 people died from overdose, an 80% increase from 2015. And this tragic crisis continued to move eastward, with increasing drug seizures of fentanyl and carfentanil across the country. My question to the Minister of Health is, what is this government doing to turn the tide on this national public health crisis?
Good question.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member from Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam, for this very important question. As he said, we are in the midst of a national public health crisis in Canada, and we must continue to respond in a way that is collaborative, compassionate, comprehensive, and evidence-based. In December, we introduced Bill C-37 in this House in order to ease the burden on communities that wish to open supervised consumption sites while putting stronger measures in place to stop the flow of illicit drugs. Canada needs this action now. I call on all members of this House to support this very important legislation without delay.
Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Mr. Speaker, how many Yazidi victims of genocide have been welcomed to Canada as government-sponsored refugees since November 2015?
The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Speaker, our government has proven to be a global leader in welcoming refugees and those seeking protection to Canada. We are proud of the fact that each and every member of this House supported resettling survivors of Daesh into Canada. Our plan and our operation is already underway, and I will provide an update to this House very soon.
Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the minister might be new in his role, so I'll refresh him on what these people are going through. They are victims of genocide. They are survivors of sexual slavery. They are the most persecuted people on this planet that are being wiped off the face of the earth. In 2015, bringing 25,000 refugees to Canada was, quote, just a matter of political will. Why won't this government tell anybody how many Yazidis they're going to bring to Canada?
Yeah. Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the previous government in terms of bringing refugees to Canada. Mr. Speaker, we are proud of our record. We will stand on our record, and we are proud of the fact that Canadians continue to be generous to those seeking protection. Our operation to bring victims and survivors of Daesh is underway, and I'll provide an update to this House very soon.
The Honourable Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Speaker, the Liberal government has opened the door for a Chinese takeover of a Canadian electronics company, despite our national security experts warning against this. The deal, and I quote the experts, would undermine a technological advantage that Western militaries have over China. Mr. Speaker, the first duty of this Liberal government should be to protect Canadians. So why is it selling off our secrets to China? Why is it outsourcing Canadian security interests to the Chinese government?
Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, let me assure you that this government will not compromise national security. Now, let's be clear on the facts. The government did not overturn a cabinet order. We consented to an order from the court requiring us to conduct a new review in accordance with the law. And all of this is clear from the public court record. And following our review, we will take whatever action necessary to protect Canada's national security. Our actions will always be based on the full record of the advice and evidence from our national security experts.
Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Well, the honourable member says that, but he's doing something the exact opposite. It's no secret that the Liberal government has a growing love affair with China, courting its billionaires at fundraisers. But it is not just in the case of a statue of the Prime Minister's father that is at stake, Mr. Speaker. It is the mad rush into the arms of China. The Liberals are ignoring our own security experts on this business transaction. This clearly undercuts our technology and our military. Why are they turning their back on the security experts? Why are they turning their back on the national interest of this country?
Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, again, I want to reiterate our position. We will never, ever compromise our national security, and we will always listen to the advice and guidance given by our experts with respects to national security. We also increase transparency by publishing national security review guidelines and information on national security reviews in the ICA annual report. And this will help investors and Canadian businesses in planning investments while maintaining our authority to take action to protect national security. So we're open and transparent, and we always advance our national interest.
Member for Edmonton, Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, this government campaigned on a promise to immediately restore public voices in assessment and approval of resource projects. They committed that only communities can grant permission for these projects. Yet, 15 months after taking office, the Liberals have approved pipelines, LNG plants, major dams, using Stephen Harper's retrograde process. So through you, Mr. Speaker, how many more resource projects will the Liberals approve using the Conservatives' failed process?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to an open, fair, inclusive and transparent process for decisions on major energy projects. Consistent with our campaign commitment, we have established an expert panel to conduct a review of the National Energy Board's structure, role and mandate. The panel will provide a report to the Minister on the 15th of May 2017. The findings and recommendations in that report will serve to inform policy or legislative measures to modernize the National Energy Board. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, this government is still playing with smoke and mirrors when it comes to Energy East. Yes, the NEB has 3 new members claiming that the study will start over from scratch. And yet, despite this smokescreen, we can clearly see that the Prime Minister is breaking his promise to completely rethink Stephen Harper's discredited assessment process. A process that discredited all conclusions. Mr. Speaker, they promised real change. When will we see real change? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, Monsieur Président, nous croyons que...
Mr. Speaker, we believe that this process must be evaluated by a process that Canadians can trust. We acknowledge that the new Committee for the Energy East project has decided to restart the process, the environmental assessment process.
Kirk Interlake Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, we learned today that the Liberals' plan to sole source the Super Hornet is going to cost taxpayers between $5 and $7 billion to buy an obsolete fighter aircraft. The Prime Minister campaigned on purchasing the Super Hornet for $65 million each, but that number is going to more than double and could actually exceed $300 million a plane. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing for our Air Force, for our taxpayers, stop this political purchase, and immediately proceed to launch an open and fair competition to replace our CF-18s?
Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to ensuring that our men and women in uniform have the best aircraft that they can possibly have to do the work expected of them. We are in negotiations with the government of the United States and with Boeing. We're looking to get the best deal that we possibly can, looking at price, looking at capability, looking at economic benefits, and we are going to do just that for this interim measure. So we are looking at the Super Hornet aircraft. But we will also be looking at a long-term procurement strategy to make sure that our men and women have the best possible
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, if we want to have the best plane, we shouldn't buy an out-of-date plane. The government has admitted that the purchase of Super Hornets is going to cost Canadians a lot of money. We know that the jets will be delivered starting in 2019. So if there's really a lack of resources, this purchase isn't going to fix anything. Because of information received in the United States, we know that this useless procurement is going to cost Canadians between $5 and $7 billion. When will the Liberals be transparent and honest with Canadians and tell them exactly how much these new jets are going to cost? 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 billion? We don't know.
Honourable Minister for Public Services and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, we are in discussions with the government of the United States as well as with Boeing. We want to get the best possible price that we can. To negotiate in public will be totally irresponsible, but we are going to make sure that what we get will be in the best interest of Canadians from an economic perspective, as well as in terms of what our men and women in uniform need to do the job expected of them.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And first, congratulations to the Minister for her new responsibilities on a file she knows well. Now, the Russian-backed war on Ukraine has entered a deadly new phase with indiscriminate rebel artillery barrages.
Our Foreign Affairs Committee is just back from Ukraine and nearby countries which fear similar Russian aggression. It's clear Ukraine wants Canada to maintain sanctions on Russia, to restore satellite battlefield data, and to extend Operation Unifier. Can the Minister tell us when Operation Unifier will be officially extended?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I'd like to thank the member for Thornhill for his question, and I look forward to working with him on this file, which he knows very well as well. I think it will be no surprise to members of this House to hear from me that our government stands firmly in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. We are very much aware that the annexation and invasion of Crimea was an illegal act, and we say that to the world, and we say that to Russia, and we will continue to say that. On Operation Unifier, that is something which is being reviewed together with my colleague, the Minister of Defence.
Honourable Member for Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
Mr. Speaker, our government understands that the research and innovation are critical to the future success of our agricultural sector. This sector drives 1 in 8 Canadian jobs and adds well over $100 billion to our GDP. Investing in research and innovation will help maintain our competitive edge and ensure Canada is a global agricultural leader for years to come. Can the Minister of Agriculture tell us about our recent investments in agricultural research?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my honourable colleague for his question and input. I was pleased to recently announce with my counterpart from Saskatchewan $3.5 million for 24 livestock and forage research projects. That is on top of an announcement earlier this month of $7.7 million for 46 crop-related research projects. Our government understands that research in agriculture is key to staying on the cutting edge, and these investments will help create growth and put money in the pockets of our farmers and ranchers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Beauport, Limoilou. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal government keeps repeating that no one will be blamed for the catastrophic implementation of the Phoenix pay system. And yet, the Minister of Public Services last year ignored warnings in several risk assessments that she received last year. Mr. Speaker, how many Canadians will have to directly confront the Prime Minister, as they did last week, for example, before the Minister admits, finally, that she is entirely to blame for the Phoenix fiasco?
Honourable Minister of Public Services and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for the question, because from our perspective, the ongoing problems with respect to Phoenix are totally unacceptable. That is why we are putting so many extra measures in place to deal with the problem. We are determined to fix this problem, and we will. We are working with the unions, we are working with the employees, and we are taking every measure we possibly can to get the system fixed. We are also making sure that employees who are impacted by this can access emergency pay. We are doing everything we can. It is totally unacceptable that employees are impacted by this, but we are going to fix the system.
For Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, border communities rely on shared medical services for urgent medical care in the United States. These life and death health emergencies include care for pregnant women, new mothers, and newborn infants at risk. Under the American travel ban, Canadians are at risk of dying in an ambulance waiting at the border. Can the Prime Minister assure us today that there will be no delay or no denial to these critical health emergencies, or will we wait for somebody to die?
Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, we have received assurances from the United States that Canadian citizens and Canadian permanent residents with a valid permanent resident card will not be denied entry into the United States as a result of this executive order. We've always been continually engaged with our counterparts since the executive order came out. We commit to continuing to work with our American counterparts and inform the Canadian public. We will monitor the situation closely and make sure we stand for Canadian values. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Mississauga, East Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Minister responsible for Canada Post. During the campaign, we made a pledge to review Canada Post to ensure that they're providing quality service at an affordable cost. This is a significant issue for the residents of my riding, which is home to the largest Canada Post distribution hub across the country. Could the Minister please provide an update to the people of Mississauga, East Cooksville as to what our government is doing to ensure a sustainable future for Canada Post?
Honourable Minister.
I thank the hardworking member from Mississauga East Cooksville for the question, Mr. Speaker. Our government suspended the conversion of community mailboxes and undertook a two-phase review of Canada Post. In December, I received the report on Canada Post from the Standing Committee, and I thank the members of that committee for their hard work consulting Canadians from coast to coast to coast. I am reviewing the report, and in the spring, will announce a new plan to meet the needs of Canadians.
Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou.
Mr. Speaker, in Winnipeg, the Prime Minister doubled down and repeated the same comments that he made in Saskatoon. Rather than funding community-led initiatives for Aboriginal youth, he basically said, Ottawa knows best, I know best. Now, Mr. Speaker, what was the solution? Aboriginal youth really only want and need a place to store their canoes and paddles. I will again ask the Prime Minister to retract these condescending and out-of-touch comments.
Honourable Minister of Indigenous and Northern Affairs.
It is imperative that communities have the say in setting the priorities and the things that need investment in their communities. But when it comes to things that are to do with youth, we want to hear from the youth, and the youth are telling us language and culture and the ability to be competent on the land, to get a secure personal cultural identity. We know that affects their education, their health, and their economic outcomes. That's what the youth are telling us, and that's what we're going to do.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, last year the Prime Minister went to Washington to meet with President Obama. And there were some great pictures, sure, but pictures won't put food on the table for Quebec's forestry and agriculture producers. The Prime Minister has stood aside as the Americans have violated NAFTA however they want. Now, a meeting between the Prime Minister and Donald Trump is imminent. Will the Prime Minister stand up this time and defend Quebec's producers and their businesses? The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Our government has an excellent record when it comes to defending Canada's trade interests. Under our government, Canada signed CETA. In December of 2015, our government managed to eliminate the coal law in the United States. We have obtained enlarged access to the Mexican and Chinese markets for our products. And our canola producers have greater access to China. We continue to work tirelessly to grow the middle class, and we will continue to defend our national interests. The Honourable Member for Montcalm. Mr. Speaker, I'll give the Prime Minister the chance to answer a question that's already been asked. Will he follow the lead of France, the UK, Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, and Belgium, to name just a few? Will he oppose Donald Trump's executive order banning refugees from around the world and citizens of 7 Muslim countries by openly and clearly condemning this executive order instead of hiding behind diplomatic words? The Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Very proud of our record of being open and welcoming to refugees and immigrants as a way to meet our international obligations, but also viewing immigration as a great tool, a great ingredient for our economic prosperity. We'll continue to that tradition. We will make sure that we continue to be open to people and ideas, and we will continue to thank Canadians for their generosity in continuing to welcoming Syrian and other refugees. Thank you.
January 30th marked the 25th anniversary of the return from space of Canada's first female astronaut. I would therefore like to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in the gallery of Dr. Roberta Bondar. Fabulous photographer, too. Order. Order. The honourable member for Markham Thornhill.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleagues for that wonderful response, so perhaps I should simply sit down, which I will in just a few minutes. Mais j'aimerais premièrement exprimer mon...
I'd like to start by expressing my shock and horror with respect to the terrorist attack on the mosque in Quebec City. I'd like to extend my sincerest condolences to the families of those who were killed or injured.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I stand in this place for the last time, I naturally do so with mixed emotions. But having had a few days to think about it, I also believe that this China assignment is the perfect job for me.